Verb variations and irregular verbs. So there are two types of regular verbs. First is two types of forms of regular verbs. So in present tense, so we have regular forms and irregular forms. Most verbs in German follow a regular verb pattern where the ending is simply added to the stem of the verb. So if we have ish, then we add an e. If we have do or z, if we have do, we add st. If we have z, then we add en. If we have r, z, and s, we add t. If we add wear, we add en. If we have ear or z, we add ear t for ear and en for z. Similarly, if we have z written they, we add en. Uh, but we in irregular verb forms. So these are all the types of regular forms. Uh, Now the second form is irregular verb forms. There are some variations where the spelling is slightly different, and there is also a group of irregular verbs where there are changes in the stem of the verbs. So now we will see what those two types are. So first is spelling variations. So these are all the types of irregular verbs in present tense. So first is stem endings in D or T. So if we look at the infinitive, we have arbeiten means to work. Uh, its stem is arbeit, leaving the e, if we leave the en part, then we have arbeit. So if we look at the last character, we know that we notice that it is t. So if the last character is t, we add an e. If we write do arbeit, we add we have to add st, but we also have to add e, because we will have a difficult time pronouncing do arbeitst. So which is not correct, which is also harder to pronounce. So we add an e in front of the st. So we say do arbeitest, which is a little easier to pronounce. So if we look at so if we have uh, so one thing that you also have to see that all these spelling variations in irregular forms are majorly affected on do, er, z, s, and ear. It will not be affected for ish, uh, z in plural, and wir. So if we have to say er arbeit, so er arbeit test, and ihr arbeit ear. So what is for ear? Ear arbeit test. So, and similarly, if we look at the kosten, we will say cost, s costet, costet, because it will be s costet. You can't pronounce it longer t sound. So double t we have a difficult time. So we add an e. So it will become s costet. Similarly in redden, which is whose stem is red, and you say ear read it, which meaning talk, to talk. There are similar things for the stem endings for n and m. So atman means have an stem of a atom, which is do atmast, which means to breathe, and then regnen, whose stem last character is n. So we say regnet, So we add an e to the in front of the last character, because it is it will be difficult to pronounce if we don't have a vowel there. uh, then we look at its example or Beispiel. uh, Du atmest sehr heftig. You are breathing rather heavily. Then second is Herr Mayer arbeitet bei Siemens, which means Mr. Mayer works for Siemens. Then we have Es regnet schon wieder. It's raining again. Es regnet is it is raining, and schon wieder is again. Das Buch kostet 5 Euro. The book costs 5 euros. Ihr redet zu viel. You are talking too much. Uh, then we have the extra e is added only with the endings for do, ear, z, s, and ear. It does not affect the other verbs forms. So if we so here are all the forms that are given, that I have written. So ich arbeite, du arbeitest, sie arbeiten. So it is not affected. R, Z, and S arbeitet. Wir arbeiten. So it does not have a double E in front of it. Ihr arbeitet. Sie arbeiten. Sie arbeiten. Uh, then we have stem endings. Similarly, if we have stem endings which results in double S, longer S, estet, x, uh, sound, or there are all the S sound, variation of S sound. Normally the verb ending for do is st, but if the verb stem ended ss or s, add a t as the verb ending for do. So uh, reisen becomes do reist. Kussen are kust. Heißen is do heist. Horizon means to travel. Kussen means to kiss. Heißen means to be called. And its Beispiel is rest, rast, du weiter nach Italien. Are you traveling to Italy again? Du heißt doch Frank, oder you are called Frank, aren't you? Susie kissed Gern. Susie likes kissing. And then for a few words where the stem ends in x, z, or s, the same pattern applies. Faxen, which is in infinitive forms, is becomes do faxed. Tanzen becomes do tanzt, and schwitzen becomes do schwitz. Faxen means fax, tanzen means dance, and schwitzen means sweat. So these are irregular verbs with vowel changes. These changes apply only in the do and ear, z, and s. Formal forms examples are schlafen becomes er schlaft. In these the vowels change from a to a, e to e to e, and e to e, I, e. So these are the changes in the spelling of the uh, stem itself. So schlafen becomes er schlaft, essen becomes sie isst, Sprechen becomes du sprichst. Lesson becomes du leist. Uh, Sein becomes du er seid. So schlafen is sleep, essen is eat, sprechen is speak, lesson is read, sehen is the see. Uh, these are the some Beispiels. Uh, Leist du gern Harry Potter? Do you like reading Harry Potter? So leist du means leist is read. Do you like reading Harry Potter? So gern is like. Then we have er seid ein Fußballspiel. He is watching a football match. Sie isst gern Pizza. She likes eating pizza. Sprichst du Deutsch? Do you speak German? Then looking out for pattern. These changes apply only to a limited number of verbs. It is best to learn these by heart. There are also certain patterns which can also help you predict how a verb changes. So if there is a, you changes to umlaut a, then e becomes I, e becomes ie. So changes from e. So it is very difficult to get a pattern out of it. You have to learn them um, by heart. uh, there are very few patterns, but you always have to learn them by heart. So geben is du gibst, er sie es gibt. Helfen is which means to give. Helfen is becomes du hilft, er sie ist hilft, to help. Treffen, du treifst, uh, er trifft, to meet. Werfen, du wirfst, es wirft, to throw. Here are some Beispiels. Uh, Er hilft Frau Mayer. He helps Frau Mayer. Triffst du heute Angelika? Are you meeting Angelika today? Er wirft den Ball zu Beckham. He throws the ball to Beckham. Uh, so this is an exception to the changes from E to I. So if you notice that we have helfen, in this helfen here is E, but when the du hilfst we change it to I, and treffen is E, but in du treifst we change it to I, and werfen is E, so we change it to I, du wirfst. uh, uh, but in nehmen, the verb nehmen also follows the E to I pattern, but it has greater spelling variation. Ich nehmen, du nimmst, sie nehmen, er sie es nimmt, wir nehmen, ihr nehmt, sie nehmen, sie nehmen. So you have to learn them by heart. It will be very tedious to um, get a pattern, but if you, I think if we regularly practice, then it will come to us naturally. But it is difficult to always get that pattern. Remember that pattern. So here some Beispiel. By nehmen means to take. So nimmst du Kaffee oder tea means do you take coffee or tea? Er nimmt ein heißes Bad. He is taking a hot bath. Changes. The next one is change from E to IE. Uh, uh, so some verbs such as Zain and lesson, where E sound is pronounced long, change their E into IE. So Zain becomes du seist, Er, Zeit, Sie, Zeit, Es, Zeit, which say means to see. Lesson, lesen, lesen becomes du leist, leist, which means to read. Another important verb is empfehlen, which means to recommend. So let's look at some example. Er sieht Utah nicht. He does not see Utah. Sie empfiehlt tea. She recommends tea. Then we have changes from a to a. Important verbs apart from schlafen, which follows this pattern are fahren becomes do fast, sie fahrt to drive, halten becomes do halst, es halt to hold or to stop, uh, tragen comes to tragst, sie tragt to carry, waschen do washed, es washed, okay, meaning to wash. So here are some examples. So do fast morgen nach Haus. You are going tomorrow home. Gleich fällt es runter. Any moment now it will fall. Er tragt ein neues T-shirt. He wears a new T-shirt. Then we have similarly to this, we have a change in vowel from O to O. We have a infinitive as stoßen, meaning to kick. Ich stoße, du stoßt, er stoßt, sie stoßt, es stoßt, wir stoßen, ihr stoßt, sie stoßen, sie stoßen, stoßen.